You're listening to the Brilliant Breakthroughs Podcast, episode number 48, with Syacy, Kaat.
Hi, small business owners. Welcome to the Brilliant Breakthroughs Podcast, where we focus on creating brilliant breakthroughs for the small business owner. FYI, this is also the name of the #1 Amazon best-selling book for small business and entrepreneurship. The good news is you can find this book in paperback and ebook form, and all you have to do is go to Amazon and type in Brilliant Breakthroughs for the Small Business Owner. The subtitle is Fresh Perspectives on Profitability, People, Productivity, and Finding Peace in Your Business. And if you're listening to this after November 2018, the book we're referencing today is the vibrant blue one that looks like a sapphire. Now that we have that out of the way, let's just dive into this really super cool meeting that we have. And I want to say hi, rock stars in the business world. My name is Maggie Mongan. I am the anthology leader. That means that I'm the one that had the brainchild and decided to invite folks to author in this really great book that we just mentioned. And today, we're honored to have Syacy Kaat, a #1 best-selling author, with us to talk about your business's performance. And she spends a lot of time talking about how to attract and engage people through their personality, through their headshot, through their personal branding. So we're going to have some fun, but we're going to start out at the very beginning of Syacy's journey. So I want to say, welcome, Syacy. Glad to see you.
Hi, Maggie. Thanks for having me today.
Okay, everyone, Syacy's chapter is the 4th one, titled Why Your Headshot May Be a Turnoff and How to Turn It On. I love that title. Syacy, you're a pro at what you do. You are a brilliant practicing expert. There is no doubt in my mind. And, full disclosure here, Syacy does my photos. She is really talented if she can make me look good. Okay, so, Syacy, you have this gift, and it serves small business and entrepreneurs really well, really, really well. But it's a different way of looking at themselves and their business. And I think that's really cool because, our subtitle is Fresh Perspectives. And you definitely bring that forward. There's a new way of attracting and engaging people in this century.
Right.
And, you meld two worlds together that most people don't think of, which is photography and business.
Right.
And, I'd like to start with something so basic in this conversation is, why do you do what you do? It's so basic, right? It's sort of
Well,
fun.
it's funny when you think about it because it is a path that leads to what you do. And you have to go back in time to think about how you grew up and all the little steps that you took along the way and the things that happened to you that make you who you are, right? Because it creates your, why do I feel so compelled to do this? And as I was growing up, my mom, she would never go out of the house without her hair done, her makeup on, and she had to, pencil her eyebrows in because she didn't have any. And, she would never, ever be seen without that. She would never go out, without that all, and her, her clothing always looked really nice. And so she always taught me that I had to look and be a certain way. But, part of you kind of rebels against that, of course, because you don't want to be like however your parents want you to be.
Well, why would you want to do that?
No way.
You're your own person.
Well, right, exactly. And I think, that kind of in a way, I didn't want to be like her, right? Because she was my mom. But my mom also had a lot of fashion magazines laying around, and my mom was always, she liked things to look good. She liked to, create really good food. She liked to decorate her house really nicely. So there would be like decorating magazines around and fashion magazines around because, she liked clothing, and my mom liked beautiful things. And so
Got it.
everything that she created was very beautiful. All of her environment and everything was very beautiful. And so I think being surrounded by that, I always felt like things had to look a certain way. And
Okay.
I looked at a lot of the fashion magazines. I looked at the decorating magazines, and I wanted to create those feelings as well. And I am definitely like my mother. I hate to admit it, but I love beautiful things. I like surrounding myself with beautiful things. And I like quality versus quantity. My mom had a little bit of a quantity issue, but she liked a lot of beautiful things. but
But
you
I I want to share. Oh no, I'll wait. Keep going.
Okay, well, anyway, so really, but what happened to me is I think I became so into that. I was home alone a lot, and I looked at the magazines, and all of a sudden I got into this whole, like, I need to look a certain way, like these pictures in this magazine, or like my mom wanted me to be. And I think that really created um, a false self image for me, a false image of who I was.
Ah,
And,
okay.
and as I grew older, so I ended up going to cosmetology school and becoming a hair designer. Hey, I can make myself look good. I can make other people look good. But what I discovered in that process is that people always wanted what they don't have. If they had straight hair, they want curly hair, whatever. So I started realizing that, what, your hair is so beautiful the way it is. Why don't we just make it, accentuate what you have instead of trying to change it?
Okay.
So it became about, you know what you naturally are versus what different, what you want to be. And sometimes, we have what we naturally are, we want something else, and we can make that happen if we really want that. But I think who we really are and what we have to offer the world is what makes us awesome. And so,
Amen.
yeah, so amen. So, being a hairstylist, after a while, I kind of was like, okay, I can make you look good the way you are, or I can make you look like somebody else. It's up to you, whatever you want. You're paying me, right? So I can do that.
Which is interesting because you don't settle for that now, but that's fascinating. Let's see here.
But I mean, I think people should be viewed as the individual who they are, and how can we accentuate your value versus, which does include what you look like, because we are always judged by what we look like. So I don't know. I became passionate about making people look good with hair and makeup, and then I went on to went on to my ad where I studied art, and now I'm taking a person and making them look good in a picture. So
Ah,
before I did the hair and makeup, now I can still help you with your hair and makeup. I don't do it for you, but I can help you make sure that it looks good. And now I want you to look good. However, in addition to that, looking good and fashionable and beautiful is one thing, but making yourself look like who you are is a little bit different. So, to me, it's like how can we express who you are in the picture in a way, like, say, here we are sitting down together, Maggie, you and I, right?
uh-huh.
You guys can't see us, but we can see each other because we're on a video conference call. And
Right.
so we can see each other. And so I feel like I'm sitting in the room next to Maggie, and it's like we're eye to eye. And how can we create that eye to eye contact and that humanness and a little bit of who we are, your professionalism, and your greatness in that picture? And that's kind of what I became really passionate about doing. How can I make you still look really great,
Yeah.
but say something as well? Say a little bit more than just, I look great, look at me. No, I'm connecting with you. I'm someone who is, professional and good at what I do. I'm likable, approachable, and, I want to connect with you. And when people see that picture as that first impression, it's a way that they can connect. It's hard to explain. with words.
Well, I think you did it really well, actually, because to me, when I grew up in a very different setting than you, and when I started coming across magazines like what you grew up with,
Yeah.
I just always saw the people in the magazines, and we are dating ourselves talking about magazines.
Are we, hey, there's still magazines. I still look at magazines.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love
but that was all we had.
them. Right, true. Well, we had
That's
TV.
right. That's the difference. But they all seemed like paper dolls to me. Whereas, like, just take this outfit off, put it on that person standing in that pose because they're all the same.
It was very fake.
Right.
A lot of
And
fakeness.
and I didn't like that. Um, I I felt that it was definitely two-dimensional, and therefore I couldn't relate to it. I grew
Yeah.
up out in nature and everything you could touch and feel
Yes.
and, be with. So I had a really different experience with that, to the point that I didn't want to be what you wanted to be,
Right. Right.
which is to be one of the many, to
Right.
fit into the masses. And I love that, because you and I both come from a place where we definitely march to our own drum.
Right.
And we've come from the exact opposite angles to get there.
Right.
And I just think that in this century, and that's the difference in my mind between how um, you were influenced from last century to this century. I think this century is all about individualizing oneself, and to allow self-expression
Right.
instead of trying to become something. Now, does everyone still want to be a certain person? Do they have people they choose to emulate to? Sure. But
Yeah.
it's the uniqueness that is becoming more commonplace.
Yeah. Like people don't want to shop at the mall anymore. They want like unique things. They're buying things on Etsy instead of the mall, right? They're shopping online instead of going to the store.
Yeah, no, the cookie cutter is going away.
Right. Which I love.
Yeah, yeah,
Get away.
totally.
No more cookie cutter. But you know, it's funny because I was looking at the Wall Street, I think it's the Wall Street Journal. They have a Sunday magazine and it's very fashion oriented usually. And the pictures of the people are often like these blank faces, posing these poses that nobody would ever be standing in. And they're wearing that fashiony, this high fashion stuff. And even though the high fashion is kind of unique now too, like
Right.
a lot of it's really very different. But it's the expressions that I find very like, what's the word? Like blank. They're very
Oh,
blank. There's no,
empty.
it's like there is a huge lack of personality in those pictures, which I thought is kind of interesting.
So they're like mannequins then.
Kind of. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, living mannequins.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
that's a
trying to remember the Hedy Lamarr quote about something about standing. Anyone can be a model. All you have to do is stand there and look stupid or something like that.
yes. You
And that's
know,
what makes me think of that.
yeah. I just I've known about Hedy Lamarr for a long time, but I just saw a special on her
Did you?
documentary. Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
watched that too. I watched
and
that recently too.
yeah, so really cool. Anyway, you're right, and that's what you do so differently through your process. You have a very unique process when you work with your clients to bring in a headshot, because you're all about the personality.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me the headshot is really the connection and what you want people to know about you, and you can only bring a certain amount of personality into a headshot. I think without, I mean, because I
Right.
always look at the headshot as the first impression. Either someone's going to swipe away from you, or they're going to be like, "Oh, this person catched my attention for whatever reason." And it's not going to attract the attention of everybody because that's just how it is. But you know you want to try to bring your best stuff to that particular image, that's going to draw people to you. So I always say confidence, approachability, and what else do you want people to know about you that we can try to emulate in this one time thing, this one little piece that's going to be put everywhere that you are, on all your social media profiles, on your LinkedIn profile, on your website. And then, the other pictures are where more personality can be added into, because the headshot's just the main attraction.
Right.
That first, can you capture somebody with that to get them to look at your other stuff to find out more about you? So, it's hard to put too much personality into one shot. I think it's like we have so many personality, there's so much about us, right?
Right.
I
We're
always think
living
it's like
human
that picture
beings.
says 1,000 words. Nah, I don't know about that. You know, I don't think a headshot says 1,000 words.
Um, I don't think we would want a headshot to say 1,000 words.
No, you just want it to be the simplistic main idea, right? You know, it's
Right.
a connector. It's a connector. So how can you make a connection in that shot?
Right. It evokes something.
Yeah, you got to have a feeling that, people they look at it and they go, wow, I feel confident that that person can do a good job at whatever it is that they do, right? Because they have a look of confidence and approachability and likability that makes a connection. And then
Absolutely.
you look at their tagline. Oh, okay, that's not disconnected. That's connected. Okay, I get what that person says they do this, and they look like they do a good job at that.
Right. Right. There has to be that congruency between what you're saying and how you appear.
How you appear, right? Because, you know, how you look is a part of your whole identity, right? So it's as much of a part of your identity as your logo, your tagline, your website, and all of those things. But really, it's your headshot is the first thing that people see. And then if it's in alignment with everything else, you know, people get that. People can feel that. They get an emotional connection to that.
Yes, they do. And I find that very fascinating because I'm recalling um, a former client of mine from about 10 years ago. And she and I bumped into each other maybe 4 years ago. And I used to have long hair. And then I got it cut very short. And she said to me immediately, oh my gosh, that's a much better hairstyle for what you do. That was her first comment after
Wow.
we'd not seen each other all the years. And I knew she meant it in a complimentary way.
Right.
And I took it as that. But it was fascinating that to her, how my hair was before didn't fit with what I delivered. I would
That's
have
it.
never thought of that.
Well, how old was that picture of you that you used to have with the longer hair? When is that from?
2008.
Okay. And you got it done in 2017. So
Well,
that's
right, but I had, when I saw her, I had short hair.
yeah,
Um,
before that.
yeah, yeah. But the point was, yes, I had dropped like 100 pounds. My, and my hair was totally different. So I did look like a different person. And it was because of you. It's just saying, Maggie, you need to look like you.
Well, you got to look like you, because that's a disconnect if you don't look like you when people meet you in person.
Right.
I
And
saw you
you nailed it. And there's something really powerful that you do. You have another offering, not just for headshots, because a headshot is the main attraction, but you also help people brand their personality through other images that they can use in social media and promotion and all of that, as well
online.
as your website, right?
Right, right, right. So I think, once you have your headshot, there is also, a zillion other places that your pictures could be, right? You've got your social media post, your marketing material, if you're an author or a speaker, you might have a page on your website. You have your about page on your website, your page on your website where people come to find out more about you, that your home page. You may have other pages that, you know, show or tell a story of what you do, talk about how you can help people. And so you have a lot of opportunities to make multiple impressions on someone so they get a feeling for who you are. And the more they feel like they can relate to you, obviously along with your story, all of your copy, that opportunity to relate with more pictures helps people get a better feeling for who you are. So it's important to have more than just one picture, and it's also important to keep updating, so that
Yes.
your pictures don't become old and stagnant. You can't use the same marketing material over and over, and after a couple years it's time for a new headshot. And you kind of got to keep changing that stuff up because you get old and you get stale, right? And
Right.
you got to keep moving with the times, just like how your copy changes as you grow and change as a business person. And as your website gets updated and your social media posts change on a regular basis, everything kind of evolves and changes. So your pictures need to change and evolve with you as well.
Absolutely. Oh, excuse me. Absolutely. I think it's so important what you just said for our small business owners to understand that we are in a continuous state of flux.
Totally.
And
Continual.
as our business is evolving, as we're evolving, we do take care of things like content. We add different social media sites. All of a sudden, we start moving more onto this platform than that platform. We're doing all that. But one of the things that I find very common, and it was true for myself until I met Syacy, was the fact that we forget about our images. We can, if we're great at pulling in images for like blog posts and all that other stuff, we don't think of our own image,
Right.
which which is rather funny and sad all in one.
Because
And
we don't like
I,
getting photographed.
and, I admit this was me. I own that truth. Um, and that's why this fall I'm about to go into a full business personality shoot with Syacy, because our a lot of businesses today are personal businesses,
Right. People work with
and
people.
people connect with people, and people buy from people, and people buy from people they like.
Right.
So by sharing the fact that you do have these different flavors of who you are, maybe there's not 31 flavors of who you are, like Baskin Robbins, but maybe there's like 10 different flavors,
Right.
personality that makes sense for your particular customer or client. Well, then those are the other things that you need to convey throughout the rest of your website, etc., like Syacy just said. So take the time to really assess what's going on with how you're portraying yourself. Are you allowing people to connect with you at the full capacity that they could? And when I say that, I'm talking about evoking a relationship through the images that you have of you.
Right. I mean, like
Mm.
even bringing, you can bring some of your personal stuff into it. Like, I'd like to I mean, I need to hire photographers too on a regular basis. And, like I like to kayak. I could connect with someone on that level that I really love nature and like to be outside. And I have a dog, and I have a child that won't let me photograph her. I like to garden, right? And if it can relate somehow to my business and connect with someone else by showing them a little bit of who I am, in my personal life too, that's another way for you to, to connect with people. Oftentimes when I meet somebody, they're like, oh, oh, you like gardening too. Now we have something to talk about. Oh, so, you
Right.
can carefully bring some of that into your business. It depends upon how much of your personal world you want to share with
I
other people, because
I
your
completely.
personal stuff is who you are just as much, you know. And so sometimes it's how do we bring some of those elements into your photo shoots, and how can we make them relate to people, you know, personally, because that's how you connect when you have common interests.
Oh, completely. I was at a lunch yesterday that somebody set up for me, and it was really interesting. I met with a woman who was older than me, and she looked rather conservative, and she told me that she had a Harley Sportster. It's like, oh, okay, now we can talk. We were talking about, how we're writers and all this other stuff, and it just shifted the whole relationship.
Right.
And we walked away like we were best friends
Yeah, it gives you
because we
something to
found that
talk
one
about.
thing, and then that one thing led to like 3 or 4 other things that we were really surprised because it's not common. Not,
Yeah.
all of those weren't common. So it was fascinating to me. The other thing that um, I want to share that you tapped on was you said you travel to go have your headshot done. And I think that's something that's really important for people to know is go travel, get to the right photographer. And I'm saying this, Syacy isn't. Get to the right photographer that can pull the personality out of you and get it into images.
Right.
And it's worth the travel.
Yeah, I think really you got to find someone that relates to you, that you relate to. Like I may not be the photographer for the 21-year-old skateboard sales, someone who designs these crazy cool skateboards, right? I may not be the right photographer for them. They may
I
not
think
really.
you would be, but that's another story.
I mean, I probably could do. I could probably do a great job, but they might not relate to me and feel comfortable with me. We may not
Right.
have enough commonality to work together. You know,
Enough juice.
yeah, yeah, and that doesn't mean it would be bad, but I mean, we could meet and totally hit it off because I do happen to have a lot of young friends and I can relate really well with young people. But I think it's a matter of like, your personality kind of has to meld with the photographer too. I mean, you gotta like what they do. They got to ask you a lot of questions to find out more about you so that you get the feeling that they know, they're going to be able to capture you. Right. And you want to get to know them a little bit and, build rapport with them before you hire someone. I think that's really important.
Cool. Cool. This is why Syacy does what she does. She gets all juiced up over this, and you can hear her excitement
I
coming
just
through.
want people to look good and to express themselves, and feel good about and feel good and confident about what they look like. Because, you have to.
You have to.
You
Uh,
have to. Otherwise, you're not going to use the pictures, right? If you don't feel good and confident about them.
Exactly. And I hear a lot of people say that they have headshots, but they won't use them because
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't like them.
I hear that all the time.
I bet you
How come you're
do.
using that old headshot? Because I didn't like the one I got after that 2 years ago.
Okay. So, listeners, we got to wrap this puppy up. um, Syacy has many other podcasts in our podcast log there. So go look in the archives. If you want to know more about her, definitely go listen to those other podcasts. Sometimes we talk about the same things, because congruency is the key. She is who she is. She does what she does. Yet there are many differences between them. So if you need somebody that can really help you with a great headshot and express who you are to your marketplace, you need to listen to those and then reach out to Syacy. So I'm going to tell you in a moment how you can do that. But Syacy, what's the one last thing you want to share?
Ah, put me on the spot.
I did. I did. What do you want to share? Well, I think you said it though already. Is you want people to be able to feel comfortable and be pleased with how they're expressing themselves because that exudes confidence.
Totally. And I think, just take the time to do a little research and pick a photographer that works for you.
Good point. Do your research.
Do
Love
your
that.
research. Yes.
Okay. Listeners, you can learn more and engage with this #1 best-selling author and pretty great photographer, Syacy Kaat, by reading Chapter 4 in the book, Brilliant Breakthroughs for the Small Business Owner, and gift your business's performance by accepting the invitation that Syacy is offering on her author's page at the end of her chapter. Plus, there's all sorts of social media handles for you to go check out what she's up to. She's pretty good at that image stuff.
Thank you, Maggie.
Far better than I am. And then go ahead and check out our app, Brilliant Biz Book. All one word, Brilliant Biz Book. It's pretty cool, and we have an author page for Syacy, as well as an extra bonus. If you would go ahead and click on Ask an Expert, you would go right to Syacy and directly send her a message as to what you want to know, and she'll reply back to you. Won't you, Syacy?
I will.
Oh, cool. So on the fly coaching. Isn't that great from an expert? Syacy, thanks for the time and your wisdom sharing today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Maggie. It was fun as usual.
Yeah, we do appreciate your candor. You do make it fun. And listeners, we appreciate you listening to the Brilliant Breakthroughs podcast, where you can learn more about how to create brilliant breakthroughs for your small business. Shine brightly until next week.